I've not made a video for a couple of weeks. We've been tidying up and completing various projects on our land. The word project seems to be used quite a lot these days, but it's just been a matter of us tidying the remnants of what was an awful lot of work. What you're looking at now is just about how the gate looked during my first video. Here we have soil. A lot of it has been moved. We've put chippings on the ground. What follows now is an excerpt. I'll say it again. An excerpt from my very first video on the land, where I showed that we'd had to move the gate in order to accommodate our own cars and the building construction people who were due to come onto the land. So there's about 5 minutes of what was here initially. It'll be 3 weeks tomorrow that we landed in Bangkok. We've done an incredible amount of work in that time, and today things should be picking up even more. If you look to that corner, you'll see building materials. The house is going to be built on the other side. The wall that you're looking at now is around about 6 feet high, but as we pan across, so it gets in the other corner to be something like 4 feet high. And a few nights ago we had a dog jump in here. We don't want anybody jumping in, and so remedial work is going to be done to raise the level of the wall, put new barbed wire on the top, and that's it as far as security is concerned. This is not any more dangerous than the UK. It's just I believe in physical security rather than technology, and it seems sensible to do it now before the house is built. Looking at that corner, you can now see bananas growing there. We don't, or my mother-in-law didn't use them for fruit as such. Thai people use banana leaves for all sorts of things like plates and wrapping desserts in. The little yellow flowers, they are pumpkins. I'll show more of the plants later. The scrap of land you see in front of us, which is exposed in soil and it's got lumps of concrete in it, that is where the sala was. Our cousin knocked it down. He worked like a Trojan doing it. Very, very hard working guy. Sala is something that Thai people use for shade from the sun and the rain, and enables them to have fresh air with it attracts breeze, and it's a pleasant place to sit in the day. We are hoping when we build the house that there'll be enough places actually in the house or around the house for us to sit in comfort. As you can see today, the weather's simply gorgeous. It's not 7 o'clock yet, and it's absolutely stunning. The panning back now, we have 2 gates to the property. They are both flush to the road. Originally the land was 40 metres by 40 metres, but they had to give 2 metres of land in order to make a road outside to gain access to the property. Big gates, but still a bit difficult to bring a car in, and so that particular gate I'm looking at now is rarely used. It's being used now because the other gate This one has been moved back a few meters from the road. The wall has been changed, so now it means that Toy and I will be able to drive out with less difficulty than we had before. Both got new cars and we don't want them scraped or driving into the wall. The other thing, of course, is that we need big cement mixer lorries to come into the property, and they wouldn't have stood a cat in hell's chance of coming through the gate. They couldn't have turned. So we've done the work in preparation for them to come in. And that's just about it. Today we are expecting the main building crew to turn up and bring building material with them. What building material is here now we've already paid for, and relates to the movement of the gate and putting this wall right at the bottom. I think that's it for now. I'm trying to see if this video actually works. I was able to use it in the UK a little bit, but I've been so busy that and I'm old, I can't remember how to use it properly. I doubt my computer is strong enough to use video editing software properly on it, so the chances are this video will be uploaded as it is, as a one take, and it's going to be not all that clever. But because we're going to be so busy today, I decided that I'd try and grab some of the action, if at all possible. Before I finish, this thing in front of me, this tree, we've given about 4 or 5 buckets of limes away. This is a lime tree. Not only is the fruit used, but the leaves themselves are dried, and when they're dried they're used in a famous Thai dish called Tom Yam Kung, which I don't like, it's too sour for me, but it's sort of world famous Thai dish. So to this corner we have, if we look at the first video I made, there's a lot of growth in the bananas since then. This is the junk that's left from the old house. I don't want to speak badly of the old house. It brought up my wife and my daughter, and I was glad to live there, even though it was less than comfortable, shall we say. This is just about all that remains of the old house. We've used a great deal of the timber ourselves in construction, which we'll show, and the rest of it has been taken away by our family, who will themselves use it. This corner is where the builders had their toilet and shower block. It needs more soil put on it, but that'll be done on a basis where it is needed. We've only had 2 very heavy rain showers so far, and we will put stones on top of the soil as and when we need to, and we'll have a better appreciation as time goes by. My wife has been cutting something down there, not quite sure what. Some of the bushes are beautiful, they will thrive here, you can tell that already. We started planting the area, but in between you can see tufts of what appears to be grass, but it's not grass, it's actually rice. The reason being that the soil we imported, as it were, came from rice fields, and the people were not too particular about the quality of the soil that we were given. Just in front of us, just a few more bits of what is left of the old house. Some guttering over there, some metal stuff, that'll be recycled. The roller shutter door, which wasn't a very satisfactory door for any type of house. That's, our cousins are taking that away, and we've told them sell it and keep the money yourselves. The bits of wood, they were forming the staircase in the old house, which I never ascended. It was very, very steep, dangerous to the extent that the upstairs of the house hadn't been used in years other than to store stuff. People would go up there occasionally, to my wife in particular. Every time she came back to Thailand, she'd bring a suitcase of stuff that she felt we would need one day, and it was kept upstairs. As you can see, straight in front of us, our two cars are now in a large carport which our uncle built using, we had to pay for the columns obviously, and also the metal for the roof, but he's incorporated some of the wood that we had left over. Looking to the right side of the house as one views it from the front, you can see that these plants are coming on nicely. We needed a lot of water from our well to keep them going through temperatures of up to 44-45 degrees. I think only one has failed, the rest are coming along, and our thoughts are plant the stuff and see what happens. We don't have enough knowledge of Thai flowers and plants to be able to sit down with pen and paper and plan exactly what we're going to have. We will have something attractive, but it will develop over time depending on how everything pans out. One thing I didn't mention as we came around the corner, but I mention now, is that we have 8 or 9 water taps, faucets around the house. This has enabled us to keep our plants watered, and cleaning cars, all sorts of things. Also construction where water has been needed. The construction is coming to an end now. This corner is now looking quite clean and tidy. Essentially we have 2 days work left before I take our uncle back to Nong Bua Lampu. He's rushing to finish his work on a sala, which I'll show you in a few minutes time. We are a little bit childish in some ways, and we have some solar lights to make the place look attractive at night. But this corner is now tidy, and it's our aim to make everything look tidy. We have a solar lamp on the column there which illuminates the land in front of the carport itself. The carport could possibly have been 2 meters away from the wall, which meant we wouldn't have to be particularly careful as we drove our cars in, but it's fine, it's absolutely fine. The sunshine doesn't get to, the only bit of sun that gets to the car is that which falls on the tailgate, and then only for an hour or 2 a day, so that's fine. You can see the house there. As we go across, the chip-ins here are uneven and need to be raked to make them even, but again it'll depend on what we are left with after we have significant heavy rain. This is, you might be able to take it on camera, that there's a significant drop up to about 10 inches I would say from what I'm standing on now to that area below. The idea is that we have the water running towards the road area like it always used to be. The lime trees are thriving. They had seemingly stopped a couple of weeks ago, but now we've got, I can see about 20 limes on the floor, and if you look at the tree you can see it's plastered with limes, and they're not cheap anymore, not cheap. They used to be, well, they were chucking them away, and I can remember being in Pattaya where they were used as toilet blocks, and they had no money, no value, but now they're quite expensive in the shops to what they used to be. This little plant in front with the red things on it, this is a pomegranate tree. Not terribly keen on pomegranates, but interesting for me, wondering where they came from. The tree behind it, it's only small, that's going to be a pomelo tree when it finally grows a bit. Obviously flowers in the corner. The flowers on the ground, little red flowers, you can see there, they spread like wildfire. They go everywhere. The green that you can see climbing up the wall was the very first plant that we put into the ground. It did have a lot of red flowers on it, but of course, like anywhere else in the world, it peaks and troughs with flowering, and it's at its lowest ebb at the moment. Again, looking on the ground, you can see loads and loads of limes. This building block pile is the result of the useless workmen we had who started the work on our Thai kitchen building. We've used some properly, but it just indicates how useless he was. He could not. I would say that for the Thai building itself, he overestimated by 100% the blocks that he needed to construct it. To this corner where we used to park our cars, we have soil. I reckon we've had about 35 to 40 tons of soil brought in altogether. Again, it's not the sort of job you can just do and finish. It'll be done depending on where it is needed following heavy rain. This corner was like a little greenhouse. It's a store of plants that we've bought before they had put elsewhere in the garden. Orchids hanging from the top. Grass like grass you might see in Louisiana, hanging from coconut shells. Pretty little stock to keep my wife amused, and as we complete more and more work in the garden, or more and more work on the building as it were, she'll dip into those. We're going to Konkan next week, and undoubtedly we'll buy more plants. I don't know what this tree is in front of me, but I think it's a fruit tree of some description. This is the remains of the old house. My uncle has started cutting, and the noise will be a bit silly from now on. I didn't want to get rid of the columns, about 12 steel concrete columns which are already well established. And when we built the house, we did so just with the stuff we needed. We needed storage, so this is what we did here. We've got probably the biggest shed in Thailand. He's stopped for the moment. Just like the pile of soil we had in the corner, here we have a pile of chippings, and they too will be used as and when necessary to make the land level and to allow for the drainage of water. Since we rescued the old house and did something with it, we built a sala here. In front of the sala there's a large trough type thing. We will have lotus flowers growing in that. Take a closer look at it from the rear. You can see that my uncle has made this. It's a place to sit outside, this bench seat to the rear. A table which has been painted as well to make that look nice. And have a quick look inside the Thai kitchen. The furniture that you see here will be taken outside and put into the sala. The bulk of our cooking, or virtually all our cooking, is done in here. We have an extra storage in there. We have some Buddha images and things in there. Have a nice fridge around the corner, water dispenser, cooking hob type thing in the corner. Obviously a sink, and around the corner, which I've shown in an earlier video, fully functioning bathroom. This cost us between, let's say, £4,500. Had it been built as part of the big house, it would have cost us nearer £20,000. Gigantic saving by using local labour. But unfortunately, not all the builders in Thailand are up to the job, and we've been unbelievably lucky that we've had my uncle and my cousin, or two cousins, who are talented, done the job properly. Another burst of cutting. Can't stop him. He's only got 2 days left before we take him away. I don't think I emphasized the fact that we had put a shelter over the step here. And originally we thought the steps were in the wrong place, but it's worked out that they're perfect. Coming to the rear of the Thai kitchen building, I'd shown in an earlier video, again there's a drop here of about a foot, more soil to be put in there, rubbish from the tiles on the floor needs to be picked up and tidied. Just get a little bit nearer. That tall spindly thing there is a cannabis plant. The Thai government appear to have changed their minds about legalization. It's a very unattractive plant, and it'll be no difficulty in cutting that down when the government policy and law has been changed. To the rear you can see a plant against the wall. That is more potent than the cannabis plant because it's people chew the leaves and it has the effect of amphetamine tablets. Some of the delivery drivers to us have spotted it and taken it away with them. On the highway between this, well, everywhere really in Thailand, but on the road into town with us, there's a little shelter where a man uses this particular plant and sells it as a potion to lorry drivers to enable them to stay awake. Papaya tree there, papaya growing in it. Next door, this is the house that's actually built in installments as they can afford to do it. It's going to be a very nice house when it's finished, but work has come to a halt for the moment. We need electricity put into the new sala and the old house. Again, we are lucky and unlucky in that we know an excellent electrician who's best friends with one of our cousins. But because he's good, he's not available very often and he's got a waiting list. So we are prepared to wait for him rather than to have a Mickey Mouser come and do it. We had a problem initially where the power supply coming in and the fibre optic cable were hanging and touching the roof. I was afraid that in a storm they would break the fibre optic cable, but the more important work has been done to hold those cables away. I won't go back and show, but it's just like a little support has been attached to the roof and the wires fed through that. Mikey's having a bark. To the rear you can possibly see where there are channels in the ground where the rainwater is cutting its way out. That leads me nicely to the point that I've seen other people building houses and installing drain pipes in the roof and all sorts of things. Well, our house is quite big and there's a large surface area, but no amount of drain pipes will take the water away. Yes, some water will come down the drain pipes, but the rest of the water then will build up as the pipes fill, and it will still cascade off the roof. So the drain pipes themselves are a total waste of time, as is guttering. The rain comes down, it hits the roof, it bounces off the roof and it comes on the floor. That is the most simple way of dealing with things, and it's just about the only way sensible. Otherwise you're fighting against nature, and that doesn't work. We were lucky to and sensible to have invested in this well tower when we came here. We couldn't possibly have done the work that we've done by relying on local sort of council water. It's a trickle at 6-7 o'clock in the morning. We couldn't have irrigated our land, we couldn't have had enough sufficient water for the building process, and this was the right thing. Inside there you see some tiles. We don't throw anything away. All these tiles, some of them cannot be used because they're cut off and too small, but the intention is to take those to Nong Bua Lampu, where they will be used. They will be cut and they will be put to good use. There's a lot of them, and different types, matte finish and gloss finish, but they will be used. Thailand is head and shoulders above the UK when it comes to recycling. People will use things that are left over. I think I've covered everything. You can see the remains on the floor there. That is the toilet that the builders used. Again, there's channeling in the floor here, but we need more rain to come, and then we will put the land right. Blue pipe, #1 product in Thailand, it's everywhere. The vents to the sewage system, just a couple of them. There was a smell with vapour coming into the bathroom during our extremely hot weather, 44, 45 degrees, almost as though the sewage system was being cooked and forcing vapour back up into the bathroom. This is a tree of sorts, and I don't know what it is. I'm not going to pretend I know. My wife knows them, obviously. I don't. So you can see that the wall here now is significantly higher than it was before, with that bar with a mould on it going across. That's the original height. We trust our neighbours totally, but in protecting our own property we've also protected theirs, and that's the sense to it. When we were here in the first few days, a dog actually managed to jump over the wall onto our land, and obviously a human being could have done so simply. I think that's just about it. You can see up there our windows are open and our mosquito screens are on. So we come back around to the front of the building. Here's the carport. Since I started making this video, my wife and uncle have been quite busy. They've now put the furniture in the sala, so we'll have a look at that before we finish. The purpose of the video is to show how a house could be built using piles driven into the ground. We wanted an elevated building, and in order for that to happen, we were told, and I think it's right, that we needed to have extra support for the foundations of the house. We are glad that we did it, because the house is significantly cooler because it's elevated, and we have very few mosquitoes now, because they have to actually make their way up 6 feet before, 4 or 5 feet before they even reach a window. And of course, unlike the other house, we now have mosquito screens. We let the air blow through in the daytime when the sun is out, because mosquitoes are not around and about so much then, and we ventilate the house. When I made the circuit of the house before, I neglected to mention what I had mentioned before was the mistake of the builder when he cut away the walkway, which has been replaced. By taking away the ramp, he took away the walkway, and the computer adjusted it so that the roof itself was not in the right place. This meant that 3 parts of the roof, when it rained, the water would be torrential, landing, coming down in front of our window. So at our own expense, we had to fix the roof. There's only a few drops of water come through now. My cousin put it right after the heavy rain we had. We needed to test it. There's just a little bit of water coming through now, and he will put that perfect when he's got the time. Quick look at the flowers. And there is the house. Now everybody's house is important to them, and I wouldn't dare run anybody else's house down. There are far bigger houses than mine, and it's the way it is. Some are bigger, some are smaller, but I hope that all the videos I've made, I've never sought to show off. Some people do. We were lucky not to have to pay for the land. The land was given to us by our mother-in-law. Of course, we live with her and we maintain her now, and will continue to do so forever. So we saved ourselves a lot of money by not having to pay for land. Our family gave it to us, and if you look carefully on YouTube, you will find cases where Farangs in particular will pay silly prices, very high prices for land, not realizing the true market value. It is very difficult to assess the true market value of land in Thailand, because Thais in my part of the world, in Isan, are not flush with money. They can't afford to pay fancy prices, and when a Farang comes over here and starts splashing the cash, he builds a property that no Thai could ever buy, or no Thai in this part of the world would seek to buy it. There are wealthy people, but what you find with wealthy people is that they build their own houses. So what you see in front of you now is a house that will be here hopefully in 100 years' time. I will have gone, my wife will have gone, my mother-in-law will have gone, but somebody else will be able to use it. We lived in a house for the first 5 months we were here, and it was not comfortable. Nevertheless, it enabled us to keep the land secure when we were doing the build, and keep in touch and build up a good working relationship with the workers on the land. We have a large area of land which has enabled us to rescue and have that big shed that I called it earlier, and the sala, which I'll show before I close down this video. There's been an awful lot of work done here, and we don't want any sympathy. We're very glad that it's been done. I've done relatively little physical work. I've done a hell of a lot of thinking and planning, but my wife has done an awful lot of work, including putting the majority of the soil and chippings down on the floor, which is no easy task. I'm resuming the video now. The Lazada man came and I had to switch off so that a small package could be delivered. Point I'm trying to make about having this land, we were very lucky, but we are not showing off about it, and we do not say our house is the best in the world, that our garden is wonderful, and that everything that we do is perfect. If you look carefully on YouTube, you will see some people who are acting almost as preachers to other people, telling them what they should do. Unfortunately, one of those, and it won't be too difficult to find out who it is, constantly refers to Thais and their general behaviour. Sadly, he finds it necessary to refer to bar girls all the time, which I think is awful. The vast majority of Thai women are not bar girls, and I think it's offensive to say that sort of thing. My experience of Thailand runs to 30 years. I've been married to a Thai for 22. So to a certain extent, I know what I'm talking about. Thailand is different. It is different to the UK in so many different ways. So many ways it is different. Everything. When you think about it, the weather, the type of weather we have, the temperatures are extraordinary sometimes. But the people themselves are very, very different as well. And I think they deserve to be respected rather than be run down, especially by somebody who knows virtually nothing about the country and is regurgitating the rubbish that other poor YouTubers spout. So I leave it at that, and I'll go back to my point. We were lucky to have all this land given to us. We didn't have to pay anybody for it. We didn't pay any family members for it. We didn't pay an inflated price. We had it for zero money. Because of that, of course, we had more money than we would have had been needed to buy our own land. And so we haven't spent money for the sake of it. We've done what we can afford to do, and we think we've done everything for the best. We hope so. The rains will come, and they will be tested. Everything will be tested here. There are some minor faults with the roof put up, but given the extreme nature of rain when it comes here, nothing will really keep it out. So, as I say, the sala has effectively been completed by the movement of furniture into it. Here it is. It's not all in here yet, but we are getting there. Very pleasant place to sit in the shade. There is a breeze. This is a bit of a wind tunnel from the front gate. It's decorated with plants and will continue to be decorated for the next 24 hours the next day. Mikey's starting off again. This is it. So before I finish, one last look. I've been on about the rain quite a lot and the importance of doing our roofs properly, of the fact that the builder made a cock-up of designing the house in the first place, and even though I complained almost from day one, he ignored it. He did finally put in the walkway, but to step back, a huge area of the roof puts water over that little bit of extra roof that we put in, and something needed to be done about it. I was on about it early. We had to do it ourselves in the end. So there we are. Again, going back to the rain, I'm finishing this video now, and I'm sticking a small clip of rain